All right, guys. So I've been going for the last 15 minutes. I thought I was live. This is really getting to be ridiculous now. I want to apologize for everybody who's in the chat already. Squatch, Luke, Macy, I saw you there. Yes, really, Squatch. I hit the go live and it didn't. And I'm going to be taking this up with StreamYard later. Hey, Luke. Everybody who's joining the chat, who's joining the stream now, I apologize. I thought I was live for the last 15 minutes and I've been talking about something. Ooh boy, have I been talking about something. So I'll get back to it in a second. Also, part of the reason I was late was I went into the wrong stream. That was the first 5-6 minutes or so. You'll know us happy. Hey, DM. It's good to see you here. All right. So I'm going to start from the top. Little rattled today. Moving on. First of all, everybody who's in the chat now, greetings. Everybody who's going to be joining us, hello. Everybody who's going to be catching the rerun, which is probably most of everybody if they stop chuckling long enough. Hi, please leave me a comment so that I can at least acknowledge your existence. It's a little thing for me. All right. I'm not going to be going over what's been going on this week because you know, and I don't need to explain it. The only news from this week I'm going to address in any scope at all is that the Thanos trial has just started. Apparently the opening arguments were yesterday. It's been sitting on a shelf since at least 2017. I know this because I know exactly where I was when I first heard about Thanos. What the hell is this? And all I saw was a headline talking about this really pretty blonde lady and being a scam artist. And I remember reading it and wondering, is this really a scam? What the hell is this? Now, if this apparently actually pretty smart con artist can pull off a scam like this for about 3 years and everybody was buying it all by herself, imagine what somebody with some real resources, like hundreds of thousands of people, could pull off. All right. You know where I'm going with this. I'm going to leave it at that. Catch up with chat. Hey, Luke, you want to take my job over? No, seriously, you want to take over my job? And Squatch and DM are saying hi. DM, Caucasian Sasquatch, is AKA Great Sky Troll Anti-Drama, so the old moderator. Which is why he's got a wrench now. All right. Now I'm going to move on to what else is going on. I was in a stream with Will, Anthony, and Laurel. Separately, of course. And I said 9017 is coming, and all three of them acted like they'd never heard about it before. I'm mortified. How could you not have heard about my autistic reading of the next terrorist attack. Like the way Kathleen Wiley autistically read about terrorists in the United States. I'll leave that at that. All right. So I'm going to go over 9017 kind of quickly. The idea here, first of all, I did some personal research, and I discovered that the roughest draft, the handwritten notes I did on the back of a receipt at a Circle K back east, was from 2013. I know this because the date on the receipt was 2013. And I remember it kind of hit me as I walked out the door. So I grabbed a pen and I started a couple of scribbles on the back of this receipt, shoved it in my pocket, went home. Let us now flash forward to 2015. I had this complete .doc with all of the details that I could think of at the time, saying, Mr. FBI agent, this is what I think is coming, and this is the things you need to watch for, and this is how to stop it without breaking the law. I was very much, it has to be illegal back then. I'm a little more flexible about the peculiarities of law now. Oh, excuse me. The idea goes like this. You take the capital and the major economic center of any given state. For most states, the capital and the major economic center are not the same place. In New York, it's Albany and New York City, respectively. In California, it's Sacramento and San Angeles, for lack of a better term, respectively. On and on and on. You then, and by the way, since I'm in Nevada, it really is split. The economic centers really is split between Reno and Las Vegas, although if you had to pick one or the other, I think they would go with Las Vegas. You drop two guys in there. Now, little flag on the play. Two guys might actually be one, the leader, and then the second, a local recruit, convert, whatever it is. These, at least the leader, has had extensive training in how to manufacture a firearm from scratch. When I say from scratch, I mean all the way down to where the barrel was a metal dowel at a Lowe's 2-3 weeks ago. That's how from scratch I mean. For those of you that have been following the channel for a while, you know that's a thing, right? Because he was very stupid and did it in 45 cal as opposed to something a little more portable, a little faster firing. He's also in prison right now, and when he comes out, he's going to find at least one very, very good, friendly face. He's a convicted felon, I don't care. He was convicted of a felony to prove this crime is real. But moving on. On 11 September, and which year I can't say for sure, but I can say that all of the pieces are in place to have done it for the last 5 years. They're going to go on a mass shooting spree. The way it works is this. At least the leader sets up a car repair shop and buys 4 or 5 junk cars. They're declared total wrecks. They might have bent frames, probably going to try to avoid the bent frames, but he's also going to go for 3 or 4 different styles, like an econobox and a van and a station wagon and a sedan. The idea here being they look very different. There is no way you're going to confuse an econobox with a van. I used to have a Chevy Sprint. You could almost fit that damn thing into a van, right? You could actually fit it into a UPS van. You just couldn't quite get it up into the van because there are shelves and shit in the way. But anyway, moving on. Under this pretext of rebuilding and selling cars, he's going to rebuild these 5 cars, and about a week or so before, pre-position the cars around town. This whole time, he's also been building a true assault weapon, not a semi-automatic anything. If anything, it'll be automatic only. Yeah. On the designated 11th of September, they will strike. The leader will probably be the shooter, and the follower will probably be the driver, depending on how dedicated the follower is, because they might have come over together. They may be switching out driver and shooter. They're going to go find one place and shoot it up. Go to the next 2 or 3 places, shoot them up, switch cars, and continue on this way until they're physically stopped. My original thought was that this would be aimed only at the United States, which means they'd only have to coordinate across, I think it's 6 time zones, or maybe 5. I realized about 2 or 3 years ago, they could actually expand this to a global thing, or at least from the Caucasus Mountains to the east coast of China, do a whole lot more damage. Coordinating this over that many time zones is much, much more difficult. Okay, it's basically impossible to make a strike somewhere in Russia and not have people all the way in Japan realizing there's something going on that we need to be worried about. Flag on the play. Y'all know that there's a particular country that I do not like the leadership of. I've already pressed the YouTube algorithms as hard as I think I can get away with, so I'm going to avoid talking about that too much. But 2 weeks ago, Private Sector Arms up in Olympia, Washington, had a very strange and interesting incident with somebody from that country. He tried to go in and buy a gun. He couldn't. They wouldn't sell it to him. They wouldn't take his money, if I understood the video correctly. This kind of underscores what I've been saying for quite a while. I think that guy was a designated decoy. They want the FBI looking for somebody who's obviously not capable of completing the background check process. Good for you guys. And you can read autistically all you want. That's federal and state law, and it's part of Dataslav. Background check is part of Dataslav. It's 7 days for a conditional release, 30 days for an unconditional release to be completed. And I put the dates on there to compel the background check people to act. Not like in New York where it can sit on somebody's desk for a couple of years and still there's nothing they can do about it. or nothing you could do about it. Anyway, this guy was designated decoy. That's it. I'm saying it. He was sent in there to make it look like their plan is to buy them legally. They're not going to buy them legally. They're going to manufacture them themselves in an auto body shop. Auto body shop, with one exception, has everything you would need to fabricate a firearm from scratch. And it's not even that it's an exception. There's just one tool they don't need. It's the English wheel. You don't need an English wheel to make a gun. You need it to maybe make some of the furniture. And that's it. Who cares? So you've got this English wheel that you've got lying around. And on the day in question, stupid Americans, stupid British, stupid Germans. I cannot say for sure that it's coming this year because I've been saying that for the last 3 years. But I can say for sure that I know this is coming sooner or later. Now, I conceived 9017 back in 2013. I went public in 2016 thinking that Hillary's election was about 4 months away. Election day was 4 months away, so inauguration and swearing in would have been 6 months at that point. And I'd been screeching autistically at that point for about 2 years at the FBI saying, hey, look at this, hey, look at this, hey, look at this. I never even got a confirmation they ever received it. It's not a hard email address to find. It's tips@fbi.gov. Hey, to the FBI agent who's watching the stream, here's a tip for you. At least send a receive report. That way people think you read it. Maybe they won't go public in 2 years. Either way, it's done now. On the day of the attack, they're going to try to coordinate so that the first shot to the last shot do not separate by more than about 3 hours. On a global scale, that's too little time to respond to raise much of an alarm. Okay, 9017 is coming. I know this. I'm not even questioning it. Things that I said probably were not going to be. I, in particular, don't put this one off on Fix. She's the one that brought it up. She didn't fight me too much when I said no, but she brought it up. She brought it to my attention. She made me wonder. She also brought up the question of chemical weapons. And I kind of poo-pooed that at the time, but I scaled it back. Now, seeing what I've seen, I think Fix was probably being optimistic. Extremely optimistic. Yeah, Boomer, I said that. It's coming. Be ready for it. And by be ready for it, I mean carry all day, every day. If it were in any way practical to tell you to wear body armor, at least class 2 body armor, all day, every day, I'd be doing that too. It's not. I understand that. It is what it is. You carry all day, every day, unless you're drunk, and be ready for this, because it is coming. All right, I'm going to catch up on the chat real quick. And I do apologize for falling behind. All right, Squatch, I saw that you were cooking coffee. Interesting, and bacon. He also set off the smoke alarm cooking bacon. I almost burned my house down cooking bacon once. I think I was 8 at the time. The house told me to evacuate then. While I was cussing at the smoke detector, a nice lady explained that it was not a recording. It's a live service. Yeah, that is a little creepy. I Tardy again. How have you been? DJ, I had a major malfunction with StreamYards this time. Not with YouTube. The first malfunction was my own fault. The second malfunction was StreamYards. Hi Alpine, how you doing? Um, guys, having been a coastie, I kind of hate the beach. I hate the oceans. I hate the seas. Okay, that's a little bit of a lie. I'd love to be back underway again. Just I want to be underway and stay underway for a few weeks. And Squatch just said, "Oh, that's you." Okay, so I'm not sure what that meant, but I'm going to move on. All right, I'm talking about 9017 because apparently nobody's heard about this. I was on a stream with ABL, United America First, and Laurel, and I actually, and Daisy. And I actually said 9017 is coming, be ready, and they acted like they had never heard of it before. And I've been screeching it now. I've been screeching it autistically since 2016, just like Kathleen Wiley was screeching autistically about terrorists in flight schools. I'm just saying. They, Squatch, they have heard nothing. All right. Now, I find this very strange because I was talking about it in Daisy's Discord before the two basically admins for the Discord decided that they never liked me and kicked me out on a completely ridiculous pretext. I'm sorry, I will never apologize for calling myself what I've been called to my face. Fuck you. ABL, I quit that Discord when I realized that I was just there to amuse and entertain the admins. You got to know where you're not welcome. I obviously was not welcome there. Well, I've tried talking to him, and he never responds to anything. Joe's heard about it, but apparently Joe's the only one. And even he's never actually responded to it. So I'm not sure if he knows or not. The FBI, I tried telling them, I don't even know. Well, I know it was about twice a month between 2014 and 2016, which is when I finally went public. Laurel, I never actually said anything to her, but I did say this a dozen damn times on Matt and Blonde's Discord over the course of about a year, I think it was. So the fact that she never heard about it and has no idea what I was talking about is very strange. I have no concept of how she's never heard about it. Unless, of course, Daniel purged the Discord, which wouldn't surprise me in the least. I'm not even joking. I guarantee you, Alpine, who's maybe heard about this twice, knows more than all four of them combined. And I've only been reading autistically about it, I don't know, since 2016. Like I said, I'm comparing myself to Kathleen Wiley, so take it for what it is. This thing is coming. For those of you that have been watching California and other wildfires, I said about 4 months ago, I think it was, that I could see the use of fire as a weapon to at least prepare the way. The idea there being, even if the fires don't destroy another city, which apparently they have, by the way, it would take resources that could have responded to the crisis away. They're now tied up fighting this fire rather than being in Chicago in particular, restoring order, restoring control when the whole city just melts down. And that's the point. Even if they don't destroy a city, they can cause so much panic and confusion in a city that it would take months to settle things down. Don't believe me. I don't give a fuck. Look at what happened to Minneapolis last year. That city's still in chaos. It's kind of a low burn chaos. All it needs is one little thing, and that place is going to explode again like Hiroshima. From the chat, Alpine Gulch said, "Oh wow, don't even know what you're talking about, but thanks, I think, lol." Well, there you have it. I've done a couple videos just on this subject. I'm going to do another one, and this time I'm actually going to hang the U.S. U.S. map over here and draw lines all over it. So I'm going to have to buy a new chart. But anyway, it is what it is, guys. I've often used Sacramento as my example city because I know Sacramento like the back of my hand. And I don't live there anymore. Basically, if it's September 11th, be ready for anything, especially a mass shooting. If you're at a bar on 11 September, be expecting it to happen. Watch everybody that comes in the door. Listen to the parking lot. If you hear wheels screeching, start watching that door and back away behind a table or something. That's about the time it could be going down. All right, moving on. Where was I? I am going to do another video on 9017. And this time I'm going to address a couple things that in the past I've said no. What was it? 2017. I'm pretty sure it was 2017. Fixed Bayonets actually sent me a text message saying, "Hey, Carrie, what about chemical or biological weapons?" And I called her back, and Brent answered. And so the three of us sat there and hashed this concept out on the phone. At the time, I was pretty sure the use of biological weapons was not a real option because it would affect the team that would be sent as much as it would affect people who are going to be affected. Even at the time, three of us all completely agreed. If we're talking about people who are absolutely suicidal, yeah, that would be a great tactic. If we're not talking about people who are absolutely suicidal, it would be a very bad tactic. none of the three of us even brought up the subject of other kinds of drugs because we didn't know. Or at least I don't think Brent knew that there would be other drugs that might make the team's efficacy, might improve the team's efficacy, right? That didn't even occur to us. But I said the use of biological weapons is probably not going to happen. We also agreed that a deadly chemical weapon is probably not effective. That was the real thing. You can make mustard gas. You can make chlorine gas at home. I accidentally did it to myself once. When I was on active duty the first time, I accidentally, I very deliberately put way too much chlorine into a swab bucket filled with literally steaming hot water. I remember it wasn't even hot enough to make me happy. I wanted that water boiling, literally boiling, as I cleaned the head. And I remember I got very, very weird and sick feeling. And Chuck came into the head and he started browbeating me. Hey, you're going to be a sailor, like it or not. I'm going to make you a sailor. Da 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 da. Yeah, no, I understand. I'll be okay. And I went out from the head. And after about 30 minutes or 30 seconds to a minute, I started feeling better. I thought, I was seasick. We're in port. No, I gassed myself out. I accidentally did that. I also know you don't mix bleach and ammonia. It creates a chemical, and I don't remember what it's called, that is extremely dangerous. Even in very, very small parts, this can kill you. Don't mix bleach and ammonia, first of all. Second of all, it's easy. Papa Carey tells me a story from when he was at the repair ship, I think it was, that he had a sailor who died because he smuggled on a small amount of ammonia, mixed it with bleach, not knowing that that was a danger. That sailor is very, very dead now. He has been dead longer than I've been alive. And it was less than a cup's worth of bleach. It's also odorless and colorless. Very, very effective. I also looked at the efficacy. Using it in a place where you could actually get a lot of people and make it a good bang for the buck, it will tend to dissipate too quickly to be effective, but it would create a lot of panic. That was one of the things I thought about. So I remember in this phone conversation, Brent actually brought up packing this stuff into a canister so you could use it would be really difficult. And I thought, yeah, that would be basically impossible for anybody that I could think of at the time. But what about a smoke canister? You can buy smoke canisters online. I've done it. Papa Carey's done it. Oh, excuse me. I didn't buy it online. I bought it in person at West Marine. Matter of fact, the one I wanted was no longer in production. That one was just compressed gas in a canister that you could rip open and throw smoke up in the air. I intended it for that thing. Well, that wasn't produced anymore. So I'm going to have to buy a flare-based one. I don't like that. Here in Nevada, that's really bad idea. Statewide, that's a bad idea. You can start a wildfire that way. So I'm just going to have to be extraordinarily careful. But it's highly effective at creating panic, especially if you use the right color. The right color by itself will create 100 times as much panic. White smoke will tend to make people think it's tear gas. Black smoke will tend to make people think it's fire. Any other color will tend to make people think it's a chemical weapon, even if it's just common smoke. Imagine how much chaos and panic that'll cause. By itself, imagine how much chaos and panic that'll cause. Now, all gloves are off. Anything is possible. And I say this completely possible, up to and including using fire to draw emergency services away from the areas where they're needed to respond to that as it happens, tie them up somewhere else where they're going to be stuck for the next couple of weeks. Gotta catch up on chat, guys. Okay. Squatch had said, I have some videos with only one view and others with a couple hundred views in 9 hours. It's weird, yeah. A couple hundred views in 9 hours is amazeballs. Alpine, and I caught this as I was scrolling up. No, I said who, not what you're talking about. I understand the context. Okay, Alpine. I've pushed the algorithms as hard as I can, but it's the country I really, really hate. 4-letter word starts with I. I'm not sure if I just tripped the alarms or not. And if I did, oh well. Swatch points out, biological weapons are notoriously unpredictable. Nefariously unpredictable, first of all. And second of all, that was part of the reason I had poo-pooed it back in 2017. Now, I'm a whole lot less convinced. If nothing else, it was a really great softening up weapon, wasn't it? Yeah, I just said that. Alpine says, it makes chlorine gas. Okay. All right. I thought it was an anagram, portmanteau of bleach and chlorine, but I could be wrong. I'll ask Papa Carey later. According to Squatch, bleach and chlorine do have a combined do have a smell, but it's, well, by the time you smell it, it's too late. By the time you know you have a problem, I know it's too late because I accidentally gassed myself out back in 1999. By the time I knew I had a problem, I'm lucky chat came in and started braiding me. Right? If I'd been in there a couple more minutes, I can't tell you what would have happened. And this whole time, I didn't realize there was a problem. I thought I was just seasick. This, despite the fact that I'd known about that sailor who accidentally killed himself on the Isle Royale. Isle Royale, that was her name. I had known about that for the 80s at least, which is when Papa Carey told me the story the first time that I can remember. Squatches says, that's one of the shed warfare mixes. I think I know what that term means from the context. And yeah, actually that's kind of right. It'd be very interesting to see if somebody with a whole lot more skill than I do could come up with a very clever delivery system. I can come up with the system. I just could never build it. I could never think of how to make it work efficiently enough to be worth the trouble. He also mentions shed warfare. I assume that means you producing the weapons in a shed, a common garden shed. like I have two of here. Um, the best plan we were able to come up with was actually to take it out of the shed and put it into a U-Haul. There it is. Oh, and he said that chlorine gas has killed wasps and yellow jackets, and get this, ants. Actually, none of that shocks me. It's a heavier than air gas. Hi, Buckle, you missed the comedy. Chlorine gas is heavier than air. So the idea that it would get down into an anthill is not only not shocking to me, it's bloody inevitable. And it will kill everything using the exact same thing that makes it dangerous to humans. Not just that it displaces oxygen, but there's a physical response. It works very different from mustard gas, by the way. And I forgot what it was. So, one of you could tell me what that was without me having to call and bug Dad about something that he's told me 100 times and I always forget. I'd appreciate it. Moving on. I cannot, in good, bad, or other conscience, tell you to walk around with the rest of your life with a gas mask. Right? That's ridiculous. I can, in very good conscience, tell you that if you're in an environment that's a high-profile target and you start to feel a little bit funny, go outside right away. Go out the back door and be listening for anything that might tell you that it's started now. Flag on the play. The idea has really always centered first and foremost around bars and nightclubs. Loud noise, people distracted, dark, alcohol. If you are in a bar on that night and you choose to carry anyways, really stop and sober up yourself. I know I've been there. I've done that. When you are sufficiently motivated, I don't care how drunk you really are, unless you are being carried, you can sober up for about 30 seconds at a time and look and see what's really going on. You cannot hit a moving target to save your life, but you can sober up enough to think about what's really going on. You need to really be careful that night. So, and yes, of course, anything is possible. Where am I? Oh, whoa, shit. I'm very upset about this subject. Upset enough that I've gone on for about 45 minutes. For those of you with a Facebook account, I'm actually going to put up a unredacted version of 9017 on the page. Just steal it. Just steal it and pass it around. You know, I know there's one of you here who's still a member of the bathtub. Pass it around and say, ha, 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 look how stupid Carrie is. I'm okay with that. You can call me stupid to get people to look at this. I mean, I've literally committed sexual assault to save somebody's life. Being called stupid to save somebody's life, I'm okay with that. I am so okay with that. I've also been called a word that starts with F. It's 6 letters long, and you can't say that on YouTube, or at least not on a live stream. uh, Soph was banned for using that word on YouTube. I will call myself that twice in a single sentence if it'll make you think long enough that I could save your life with that word. Totally okay with that. Hell, I'm okay with being hung like a common criminal if it ended up saving other people's lives. On the subject of what to do, where to be, and what to watch out for, I've been saying since 2014, at least, when ISIS was ravaging through Iraq, that it would be ISIS. Well, back in 2014, I really thought of ISIS as the new Al Qaeda. Right? Al Qaeda's gone, or disintegrated, collapsed, whatever you want to call it, like Enron. And the survivors of that, plus survivors of maybe a couple other groups, banded together under this new corporate name, ISIS. ISIS fell apart in, I think it was late 2017, early 2018. Somebody correct me. But I was already foreseeing that the survivors of that would band together under a new name. And then I heard the Taliban was still around. In Pakistan. Oh, yeah, sure. Maybe right there at the northwest corner of Pakistan, right? Where Iran is less than a day's travel away. Damn it. Anyway, too late now. So now Taliban's still around. Oh, great. And at the end of the day, ISIS was a mercenary army that Iran put together to get control of Iraq. Their mercenaries turned on them, and that's why Iran pulled their support and, in fact, started going after members of the specific key targets of their mercenary army. And that's 90% of the reason why ISIS fell apart. Okay, that's fine. They could put together another mercenary army. They can use what was left of their old mercenaries to build the new one. All they have to do is find a couple of cells where the members said, hey, we knew what the leadership did. That wasn't our decision to make. We had no way to stop it. We're totally okay with getting with the program. Oh, okay. You get to live, and you're going to be the new leadership, or the leadership of the new organization, or you'll be in the training cadre, or you'll be this, or you'll be that. And do not tell me that Iraq was not behind ISIS. The white shoes was the proof of who was behind it. Flag on the plate. They will never do this again. They will never do something this stupid again. As Iran was recruiting worldwide, they were taking from Bosnia, they were taking from England, they were taking from Australia. This is a proven fact. The whitest boy you ever seen in your life was an Aussie with a beard as big as my face, fighting for ISIS in Iraq and calling on fellow Aussies to join ISIS. He was a recruiting poster. Do not tell me that didn't happen. They had to train, equip, and supply these guys. Okay. A lot of them were coming from places where they didn't have shoes, or their shoes were literally rags that were holding together a tire. I'm not even joking. They were making shoes out of old tires. It's a common thing around the world. These were not adequate for war fighting, so Iran had to give them shoes. They had to get those shoes from the only source that they could get them quickly, which was a shoe factory in Iran that produced a particular style of white shoes. It would be the Iranian equivalent of an American, God damn it, the running shoes they issue you at boot camp. I can't remember the name now. It's been a while. And I'm not saying that they were good quality, bad quality, or otherwise. It's good enough to fight this war. At very least, was what they had. Americans in Iraq, when a firefight started, knew to start watching, not for guys with guns, but guys wearing white shoes. Shoot that guy. He's probably an insurgent. The guy in the black shoes is probably a local who's confused and trying to run away from this bullshit. Even if he has an AK-47 right there in his hands, looking around for somebody to shoot, it's probably a local. It's the guy in the white shoes. Watch for him. Gotta piss off Susan once in a while. And since I'm kind of frustrated and upset, Iran won't make that mistake a second time. They're going to build up a supply from international sources. And they'll have German, they'll have American, they'll have Australian. They'll have whatever they can get their hands on. But they're probably going to try to build up for targets, based on the targets. So for their American teams, they'll probably have Air Jordans. That's kind of expensive, okay, but it's worth it. A couple $1 million spent on buying Air Jordans and their equivalent from Germany or Italy or wherever. Sure, this is going to return 100,000 times on their investment. They're okay with it. Okay. Buckle Bonnie says, Carrie, does Pakistan have a fight in any of this? It confuses me. Very little. They don't like Iran either. That's not saying very much. I sincerely doubt that Pakistan is going to load up soldiers to go fight somewhere else for something else, but they're going to hold their borders. That's about it. Flag on the play. All the way through Barack's regime, the story was that the Taliban had run to Pakistan. It's true enough, some of them did. That happened. And this was very early on when they were running to the first place they could get to. Excuse me. They would have crossed into China if they could get across that border, which I'm sure some of them did. When Joe pulled the U.S. out of Afghanistan the way he did, Taliban came rolling back through. What was it, 2 weeks? 3? From the first day of the crisis till basically the last day, and we're talking about the airport in Kabul being surrounded and cut off. All right? That fast. And I noticed that the area of control, there's a nice straight line coming out of Iran right across the country. There was some area of control in the south, and that bordered with Pakistan. There was an area of control in the north, and that bordered with China. Amazing. How shocking that the majority of their forces were right along that line. that center line. And they were basically expanding from that. They were just holding what they had in the north and south. Alpine Gulch said that Pakistan has nukes, and Buckle says that's not good. Well, that is correct. Pakistan does have nukes, so does India. I have to assume, with an abundance of hope as opposed to reason, that none of those nukes made it anywhere out of very strict Pakistani control. That's the best I can do. The idea of a nuclear-armed terrorist group, what can you do? There's literally nothing you can do. Especially if they are determined enough to literally strap it to their chest and run up to the top of the Sears Tower or whatever. That's it. No, they wouldn't do it that way. They would carry it in a briefcase and very calmly go up in a nice clean shave and a very nice suit. Bunny, I'm not sure about this. India cannot even take care of their own thing. Could you please email me about that? I don't want to push. I don't want to test Susan's resolve too hard. And yes, Alpine, I can absolutely discuss this. Sometime during the Bush Jr. administration, flag on the play. I think this was during the Reagan administration. India and Pakistan were both trying to develop a nuclear weapon. And the two of them have been at war longer than wars have been around. Right? This has been tribal warfare going back all the way to caveman era. When the Moors invaded the then Kingdom of India, they forced some to convert, but others converted of their own free will. And this led to even deeper schism between tribes. It's two major tribes in particular. Those two tribes are now India and Pakistan, and they hate each other. They have always hated each other. They will never, ever get along. God will be dead. Hell will be frozen over. I will still be reeing autistically about Iran, and those two tribes will still hate each other. That's never going to change. I believe this is during the Reagan administration. Two countries started saying, well, we want a nuke because the other guy's going to invade us. If I recall correctly, the Reagan and Bush administrations finally got these two to calm down, let the idea of nukes go, walk away from this. During the Clinton administration, things seemed calm and quiet. And then one day during the Bush administration, I believe it's post 9/11, suddenly India set off a nuke. Like this was a complete bolt from the blue, even for me. Me, the guy that assumes that if you're intelligent enough, you can make it happen because he read Sum of All Fears. And then, like 3 days later, Pakistan set off a nuke. Fuck. This is fucking great. These two tribes that have hated each other since before humans were technically humans, both now have nukes pointed basically at each other. Great. That's great. Okay, Buckle Bunny asked, they claim they disarmed all our stuff. What is your opinion? Okay, first, who is they? And second of all, disarmed what? I'm a little confused. I'm going to charge in with the assumption, first of all, they is Pakistan and India, and disarmed refers to their nuclear stockpiles. And my opinion is this is the first I'm hearing of it. And yeah, well, Iraq claimed that they had dismantled their chemical weapons program, and I can tell you for a fact, no, they didn't. I can tell you that I was not exposed to waste product from Iraqi chemical weapons program. I was not told that they didn't know exactly what this waste product's long-term effects would be, that they did not know for sure that it could cause long-term respiratory problems, and that I would not be compensated by the VA for my exposure. Well, I can tell you I don't have a 100% VA rating. I'm eligible for it. I just don't want to deal with the VA. Period. I'm done with them. So I'm not buying the India or Pakistan dismantling their nuclear program, but Buckle just corrected me and said, us in Afghanistan are weaponry there. We know not everything was dismantled. We also know that somebody, and we'll never know who exactly, on their way out of Kabul in particular, apparently shot up a bunch of helicopters and planes to disable them so they couldn't take off. And the Taliban is pissed. I heard about this from the Taliban being so upset. Their position is that we are the government of Afghanistan, and this would have been a great asset to us. My position is, first of all, no, you're not. You're common thieves. And I know how Islamic law treats thieves, especially unrepentant ones. Second of all, the story isn't exactly clear, but it sounds like somebody basically just shot the equipment. You know, a whole bunch of fuck you rounds fired randomly into equipment. The U.S. has never, to my knowledge, actually admitted to having done that. And that is a shame. We should have burned all of that equipment on our way out. Having said that, a lot of the equipment was not even damaged. It's in Taliban hands, including a couple of M1 Abrams tanks, if I understand correctly. So this is a very, very dangerous precedent. My opinion is every last piece of that equipment should have been destroyed if we're going out anyway. Second of all, my opinion is we shouldn't have pulled out of Iraq in 2016. So what do you think I'm going to say about Afghanistan? We shouldn't be pulling out of either one of them until roughly $21.83. Yeah, $21.83. 1983. We are still in Germany for a reason. The fact that we stayed in West Germany is the only reason why Germany reunified under West German principles rather than East German principles. Oh, and flag on the play. If you do not believe me, consider this. East Germany collapsed and Russia pulled their troops out pretty quickly. But the two Germanys stayed as separate entities for the next 5 years. Who won the game? West Germany. Who was still in West Germany? The US and Britain. I'm just saying, guys. Okay. So, yeah. And I guarantee you, if we pull out of South Korea or Japan, those two countries, South Korea or Japan, would be invaded in about 48 hours. The last time somebody tried invading a country that actually had U.S. support was when North Korea invaded South Korea. And the whole world learned from that mistake. Do not invade a country that has either American or Soviet support. The whole country also learned from what would happen next. China's a little bit more powerful than we all thought. Flag on the play. The North Korean invasion of South Korea was broken at Incheon. Yeah, it was broken at Incheon. That war is over. South Korea turned around and pressed their advantage into North Korea. And flag on the play, really, that was MacArthur. On behalf of South Korea, okay, fine, whatever. They pushed all the way into, famously to Chosin Reservoir area when China turned around and invaded North Korea and forced us back out. My step-grandfather was actually one of the chosen ones. Now, unfortunately, Grandpa Harry passed away long before I was old enough to understand any of this, so I never got any of his stories. He was actually one of the witnesses to the infamous good, now I got him where I can kill them, or poor bastards have us surrounded incident, and was a witness to the I have you broken and unreadable incident. The first two didn't happen anything like that. According to Papa Carey, who did get the story from Harry, it was, okay, great, tell me where their positions are, we're going to make our breakout. That was Colonel Puller's response to finding out he was suddenly surrounded. The other one, and more or less did actually happen like that. Was it a knife? Was it a hatchet? I don't know. Harry's not around anymore to tell us. I would love to hear that story. But yeah, kind of like that. And he did get orders to surrender. And Colonel Puller, being Colonel Puller, said no. In a very pointed and effective way. And good for him. What happened next was something he had no control over. And he's been vilified for it. No, fuck you. He did the best he could with the shit sandwich he was served. But that's the last time One power tried to invade another power that had a superpower backing them up. That's the truth. It never, ever works out the way the invaders thought it would. Um, the next time somebody would test the theory would be Vietnam. And now here the superpowers, one by one, have pulled out of every little shit conflict that we've come across. And what happens 2 days later? They get invaded. Happened in Somalia. It happened in Iraq. It's happened in Afghanistan. You notice where it hasn't been happening? Croatia, Bosnia, Egypt, Israel. These are countries that are really are threatened by some of their neighbors. Strangely enough, they're not being successfully invaded. What do you know? For those of you that said, we can't be the world's policeman, actually, yeah, we get two choices. Either we're the world's policeman, or sooner or later, we're going to be policed. That's the way it is. All right. Where am I for time? Okay, I got about 30 minutes. On to something else near and dear to my heart. First of all, I finally got my body armor. Yeah, I know. Second of all, do whatever you got to do to get some, right? I know there's one particular company, and I don't have an agreement with them of any sort, so I can't say the name, but they have a installment system. Do the installments, get it, have it around. Have your get ready bag available, or get home bag available. Little flag on the play, there seems to still be some confusion about get home bags. Basically, plan for overnight and nothing more. Plan just to get home and potentially being caught out overnight. Nothing more than that. This is not a go-to-war bag. This is not even a bug-out bag, because I don't believe in bug-out bags. I believe in a get home, and that's it. Enough for one night. I finally got a sleeping bag for it. My elbow's rubbing up against it. I'm not even happy with this bag, the sleeping bag. It's too big and too heavy. I mean, this is great for camping or something where you intend to be out. It's too heavy for a get-home bag. I can't find something that actually meets what I would have in mind. It's kind of embarrassing. And there is a lot of stuff in my bag that is completely unnecessary. I put it in there because, first of all, I picked it up to show you one in particular, and this is from multiple people saying, have a compass. You don't need a compass for a get-home bag. If you cannot find your way home from your school or work or wherever it is without a compass, you really need to think about your plan. You don't have one. I could actually walk from where I work to either one of Papa Carey's houses, even through road closures. I know how to get past the road closures, although the one to the lake house is a little more difficult. It would require me to go off the road, back around a mountain, and then back up past the next mountain up and then around. So I could get past that road closure if I had to. No roads, no streams, no landmarks, no nothing. Okay. Um, Without a compass. That trip would also take me about 6 days. That's not a very good get home plan, considering that it's built for overnight. But yeah, and have that plan and have it ready. I'm going to say something a little strange here. If at all possible, don't have this actually at your desk. Have it in your car. If you have a parking garage, you're just going to have to deal with it. If something else happens that your car cannot leave the building and accessing your car is difficult, you're just going to have to deal with it as it is. Those of you that have been following the channel closely enough, you know that there's a second purpose to your get home bag. And once you've completed that second purpose, leave it in your car if at all possible. I'm going to catch up on chat. Okay. What? All right. Squatch said, "Okay, I might be blistered. You got to be more careful with that bacon. Remember, I said I almost burned my house down when I was 11. Went for a walk on the beach in the rain, and the rain cleared away suddenly. Oh, sun blistered. Did you tell your smoke detector? Gulch, that's not funny. Okay, maybe a little." Squatch says, "Here, mostly what's needed is a good, solid, large poncho." No, you need food for overnight. It's Georgia, so I'm going to assume it's a little bit hotter than my kit. So maybe you don't need as much cold weather gear. But I do know it snows in Georgia from time to time. And yes, walking around naked in public is probably not a good idea there, Squatch. Opinion on the... Okay. Buckle Bunny says, opinion on the symbol, I'm on the fence. I'm not sure what that symbol is. I'm sorry. Our cell phones have a compass. Mine does not. What mine does have is a clock in digital or clock face, and I could find north off of a clock face. You know, I follow another channel, and I'm going to reach out to that guy because this is his thing, bushcraft and survival. I'm going to ask him if he'd be willing to do a video on this subject. Also on finding time when you don't have a clock, and you could still figure out, okay, I know it's somewhere around 1500. Okay, so I would adjust. Okay, so that should be about right. And tip it around. Okay, that's north. Okay, that's north. It's not perfect, but it'll keep you to north. So you have other options. Don't tell me you don't. Squatch says, I'm saying that sleeper is a bit much. He's right. I don't like it either. You know what I can't do? I cannot find a light blanket. Just common blanket. Or medium blanket. Cut it in half and sew it into a bag. So it would come up to about here on me. I can't find it, and I don't have that level of skill. Okay. I wish I did. That would be perfect. And to give you an idea, that sleeping bag is actually bigger than the bag it's hanging off of. Ideally, it would be small enough that with everything else I have in there, including the junk I know you don't need, but so many people insist you do, I could still fit in that bag. It would be way down at the bottom. If it were in the bag, it would be way down at the bottom. So that would be ideal. So yes, Squatch is absolutely right. That, for the time being, that bag is emergency. If I do end up having to need it, great. For hopefully very soon, it's basically for display purposes only. When that day comes, well, I'll figure out what to do with it then. Maybe I'll just keep it home, use it for winter. All right. Buckle says the jab. The symbol that I did not recognize earlier was the jab. First and foremost, anybody that tells you you can't, do not listen to that person. All right. If you feel that you need to get vaccinated, do it. With the grace of God, go. Do not let me slow you down. I will not. And at this point, it's as much spite as medical necessity. Like on the plate. This time a year ago, I was already vaccinated. But I was still waiting for it to come out and see what was going to happen and then make a decision. I actually went out and got the virus late May or early June of last year. When in April, I realized people really are surviving this. This is not freak one-off things. People are surviving this okay. Well, you know what? If anybody can survive this thing, I'm the guy. Top of that list. Okay. So I went out and got it. And I started in May. In June, I tested positive. I'm good to go. Okay. After that, because I knew I was safe, and the vaccine, they're making this announcement that yes, it's like a week away from the completion of testing. I'm thinking, okay, you know what? I'm going to go and let everybody who is high risk get it first. All right, I'm no risk. I cannot get this thing. You can breathe it right in my face now. I can't get this thing. I'm safe. There are other people that if they're a mile downwind of somebody who's positive, could catch it. Like on the plate. That sounds scientifically impossible, rather. Highly unlikely is all I'm going to say. And there are people that their immune system is that weak. Let them go first. I can wait 6 months to a year. I'll be fine. Maybe if the powers that be hadn't have been such arrogant little shitbags, I would still be in that camp now. But no. They had to be self-righteous little bastards who started saying things they shouldn't have said to anybody under any circumstances. Things like, it's simple, get the shot or get shot, or is it get the jab or get shot? Something like that. Okay, now it's all fuck you. First of all, I already know I'm safe. Second of all, you just made a demand out of me that you have no business making. Fuck you. By the way, while I'm on that note, where was your self-righteousness 3 years ago when I asked for the flu vaccine and was told because I could not pay out of pocket that I could not have a flu vaccination? Oh my. A little bit hypocritical there, wasn't it? So, as much out of lack of medical need as spite and medical sensitivity, the chemicals I wasn't exposed to back in 2007, I think it was 2007. I don't know what kind of merry hell they'll play with some other thing that's put in my body deliberately. That was part of what I was waiting to see. Is this thing going to be safe for people who are sensitive? If it was, I might have been a little less recalcitrant. Now I'm just completely recalcitrant. Fuck you and your sanctimony. And now, oh, that reminds me. Today, I encourage you with every ounce of capability I have to tune into Joe Biden's press conference today at 1500 Zulu, so that you can say, I watched it live. I was as close to being there as I could physically get to see when history was made. Joe Biden's having a press conference today at 1500 Zulu. That's Washington, D.C. I really think you should watch. If there's any reason you can't. If there's no reason you can't. Anybody that tells you it is mandatory, either walk away or, how do I say this without getting my channel yeeted in one sentence? Anybody who does attempt to force a jab into me will not be doing much ever again in their life. Okay. Squatch says, give me a second. Then canvas bedroll is excellent for the size and weight. Wet weather functionality. I will look into that. Most of you know I go to Papa Carey's on the weekend, so we might just hit a couple stores because he loves doing that. Uncle, you're very welcome. Squatch said, look at Kelty Cordovan outdoor blanket. I will try to remember. I thought Gold said, I thought cotton was bad, but if waterproof, maybe it is okay. It can be waterproof. Be sure that it is. My old poly cotton uniform shirts from the Guard were not waterproof. Not even close. And Buckle, no, I don't think he has dementia. I think he is just truly evil and corrupt. He might have a little bit of his mind is going. He might be well on the way to dementia. But I don't think he's there yet. I think he knows what he's saying, generally speaking, and he's he knows exactly what he's doing, up to and including this incident where he was negotiating with the, let's be honest, the new czar of Russia, Vladimir Putin, and said the wrong name. And Putin says, "Oh, sure, and you want that one? Go ahead and have it. We won't fight you." Yeah, I think he knew what he was doing. Gulch, no, my poly cotton uniform shirts were not really waterproof, so cotton is not necessarily waterproof in and of itself. Squatch is right. Kamala is worse. I really, really want to say something about Kamala. Every month I have to go into Fix Bayonet's channel, or she does, one or the other. There is a video sitting there on a schedule for later status. There are certain people that do not ever want me or Fix to have so much as a bad head cold. And there are some names that'll get named. When Brent suddenly died. Brent died February of last year, not of COVID. If I say that Brent was assassinated, and I believe he was, Fix gets very upset and angry, and then starts cursing me out in Farzai, I think it is. I don't even think she actually knows the words she's using anymore. She swears she does. But it is as simple as this. When that happened, I said, you need to go public. And that's the real reason she's so mad and upset with me when I bring it up. She does not want that to go public. They can't, the United States government cannot, under any circumstances, extradite her. She is a U.S. citizen now. Period. End of discussion. She did 6 years in the Marine Corps, not as a U.S. citizen because they kept fucking up the paperwork. And they realized they fucked up the paperwork when she switched over to the Coast Guard. All right. So she could have withdrawn from her conditional release of contract at any time, and some lieutenant at Coast Guard JAG said, yeah, we're going to fix this right now. And sure enough, they did. I was actually there for her swearing in, her citizenship ceremony. She was being sworn in uniform. Only she was not quite in uniform, were you, babe? But that's okay. She's sworn in. She is a U.S. citizen now. They cannot deport her. And her fear is they will anyway. Well, okay. That's a reasonable fear. If I were in her position, I would be worried about that too. And that's one thing she does not want. Which is one reason she has not gone public with what she knows. There, I said that. I'm going to pay for that later. Oh. So, Kamala is infinitely worse than you'll ever imagine. And that someday will come out. The only way that's not coming out is if both of us provably die of old age because we're in our 70s or 80s or something. One of us takes that video private. It'll stay private forever. That evidence will be gone. I'd better outlive Fix, if you know what I mean. Buckle Bonnie says, covered up son's indiscretion. I assume she means Joe. And which indiscretion? Squatch says she laughs like the witch, like the wicked who stole Christmas, like the Grinch on meth. Witch who stole Christmas, I guess. Okay. Buckle says rest of us would be getting light piped to us. I guess she means very deep underground. And Squatch says Kamala Harris actually scares me. She reminds me of an ex-girlfriend, absolutely terrible person. If you only knew. If you only had a clue of how terrible she really is. I can say that I met her back before she was an attorney general, or I think she was San Francisco district attorney at the time. She is worse than you think, or you can ever begin to know. I dare say she's probably the worst of the whole lot because she's one of the ones that knows literally everything and is okay with all of it. She's not the head of the empire, but she's a very, very happy bureaucrat within it. Moving on. Put your get home bag together. If all you can do is go to a hardware store or Lowe's, Walmart, or whatever, buy one of the commercial packs, the red bags. That's why this one's red. And then just take the pieces out you don't need. Put the more pieces in that you do need. Do that. It's fine. Have that get home bag ready. I keep talking about goggles with the get home bag. Even if you think you don't need them, get them anyway. If you cannot get goggles that will work for your purposes, swimming goggles. Think about it. Swimming goggles are to keep the water away from your eyes when you're swimming. What will that do to everything else? Oh, excuse me. Damn it. I have really bad today. Just at very minimum, have one set of clear swimming goggles. I would say a pair of clear and tinted, except some people cannot use tinted or do not want to spend the extra money. Just go get the clear for now, at least. And if I recall correctly, early on into Antifa's march across the United States during the Barack regime, that's what a lot of them were doing, is swimming goggles. Why can't the good guys be matched up with the good ladies? Because God has a sense of humor. boss says, Kamala is the main reason I don't want Biden impeached. He's got a great point there. If Biden gets impeached, Kamala becomes president. Believe me, as bad as Barack is, yeah. At least Biden is an unhappy bureaucrat in that system. He doesn't, from what I can see, he doesn't like being there. He's doing what he absolutely has to appease his masters. So, all right, have your get home bag ready. Carry every day. About a year and a half ago, I was working at a facility. First of all, it was a no guns, no knives, no weapons of any sort facility. I was working security, so I had an unfair advantage. But I got my gun in, and I left it in my locker. And every day when I'd go on, I'd get that gun and carry it very well hidden out of sight. Right? Just leave it at that. Flag on the play. I'm pretty sure my lieutenant knew that I was carrying on duty. And I'm absolutely sure he knew that was against the policy. All right? Because one day when I'm at a particular post, he walks up to me, he says, Kerry, you know there's no guns allowed, right? Yeah, sure, I know. Okay, well, some funny things are being said about you. Like what? Just people are worried. You're making them kind of antsy. Oh, Lieutenant, I am so sorry. I just have this, I'm sorry, naturally creepy nature. And I'm sorry, and I don't know how to fix that. But you could ship me off to this one particular post, out of sight, out of mind, and I wouldn't be bothering anybody there. Okay, I'll think about that. 2 days later, I was shipped off to that post. It was a shack overlooking the parking area, and I didn't even have to talk to anybody. There's a gate with some sort of access system that only employees could park there. I didn't have to check you. It was perfect. I didn't have to bother with anybody, and better still, I could ride my bike while I was on duty. And the one time the lieutenant did challenge me on this, said, yeah, I have the bike. It's for faster response. Well, make sure you do your full patrols. Yeah, no problem. And I did. I was riding that bike for about 6 hours a day, every single day. So yeah, I got my gun inside this extremely secure building, by the way. Unusually secure building. They had x-ray machines. I got it past the x-ray machine too. And by the way, not by bypassing the x-ray machine. I could have bypassed the x-ray machine very, very easily, just come in uniform. I didn't do that. I got it past them without the x-ray machine. I'm just saying. Hopefully you won't have to go to those kinds of ridiculous extremes. When I'd come off duty, I'd put it back in my locker, and I had a system. I knew There cannot be any security cameras in a locker room legally. There cannot be a security alarm, a security camera in a locker room. All I had to do was get it off of me into the locker without being physically seen by anybody. That was easy. I would say I'm grabbing a cup of coffee before I take off. I'd be clocked out. Now I'm on my own time. I'd get the coffee, and then I'd go up. Take it off, put it in the locker, close the locker. Put my lock on it. Nothing they can do. And the amazing part is, even when I left that facility, they never found it. They cleared out my locker for me. They didn't find it. Well, that's part of the reason I think it was the lieutenant, because I know where the lieutenant stood on this subject. He's actually been in the chat once, at least. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's watching now. Or he's listening in. Damn, dude, it would be nice to talk to you again, especially about this. Especially since you can't prove I did it. But anyway, have your plan to get home, and your plan needs to have at least 2 contingencies. Okay. Sort of a flag on the play here. I work at X building. It's about a 4-hour walk away from here. Okay. It crosses 2 freeways. Oh, a major highway and a freeway, excuse me. Although part of it is a freeway. How do I get from there to here if those roads are closed? I had to have at least 2 alternate routes home. I have them. One of them is an 8-hour march. That will really suck. But I can do it. I can also march from here to either one of Papa Carey's places. Have that plan too. But have that plan starting with driving, because you cannot carry enough food and water to make it any kind of bug out distance. I don't believe in bug out bags. I believe in bug out cars, bug out vehicles. Which reminds me, I got to rent a U-Haul. And be ready, because you don't know how this is going to go down. Have basically a second get home bag at home, ready to grab as you walk out the door to your car to take off. The better you can prepare, the better off you are. If you can get a camper or an RV at the edge of town, great, do that. If you hear that there is going to be a major protest, call in sick to work. Tell them, tell them I'm sick. Drive an hour out of town to a hotel and just stay there. If everything looks like it's okay, drive half hour. Drive an extra hour to and from work every day for a few days until things really do cool off. If, like me, you are advantaged that you have friends or property that half hour outside of town, Do that instead. I have friends who are a half hour out of town. Basically, I gave them $1,000 to let me put a shed up, a storage shed. They know, but they don't say anything. Okay, we just went over the 2 formal hour mark. And because I started late, I'm going to go a few extra minutes. Because I'm not an ass. I don't know what that is. That's the office phone, if you can hear it. If you've noticed, I talk a lot about retreat and defeatist mentality. It's not defeatist mentality. You're right. I do talk about get to safety first. Let me put this bluntly. None of you are watching this are professional soldiers or professional warriors or professional fighters. All right? There's no Proud Boys. Oh! Excuse me, except for DJ. My apologies, DJ. And I have something in common that when it happens, yes, DJ, this applies to you too, fall back to your defensive positions and then stand by. And the time will come very soon, very, very soon, where the defeatist mentality is over. You don't need to worry about that anymore. That's when you grab your assault kit. And there I said that. And you probably will get a ride from somebody else who is collecting you strictly to go to XYZ location that has been secured and prepared in advance by either your local sheriff or your National Guard. On 9/11, or 9/12 maybe. Now, there's a story by the now former West Point commandant who said he had cadets at his compartment asking to be released from their commission to go active duty as enlisted because they wanted to get in the fight that bad. And he had to refuse each and every one of them, saying, tactical calm. Now is not the time for you to run off. Finish this and then go. Well, the first 48 hours of the crisis is the time for your tactical calm. Get to your own safety point and then rally. And I said that out loud. Squatch is apparently going to build his own little kingdom, and then his internet cut out. Well, Squatch, if you think you can pull that off, good for you. Let me know. Yeah, I might even come. And yes, I will bring my own weapons. Food I might be a little weaker on. You try making a 3,000-mile journey on foot and tell me how much food you can carry. But then again, might be a little stronger. If at all possible, have a 30-day supply of food and a way to get water, enough to last 30 days. I can tell you that the crisis that I have in mind, and is based a little bit on some information I revealed when I was in the service. or I received while I was in the service, and I'm very uncomfortable revealing it myself. Excuse me. Is any crisis that lasts more than 30 days, we don't deserve to survive. And we don't deserve to survive it because we sabotaged ourselves. What I can say, based on internet received information, is that within about half that time, the National Guards should be deploying to help restore order. The only thing you have to do is not willingly march into a facility that has been created by the federal government for habitation purposes. I can talk about this a little more deeply. This is not based on secret information. This is based on what happened after Hurricane Katrina. After Hurricane Katrina, people were being set up in basically trailer parks, FEMA parks, camps, and everything just fell apart. It was complete and utter shit show. It was that bad. There's still people who are struggling with the aftermath of low bid fifth wheelers that they were being forced to live in. 8 and 10 people to a unit, designed for 2 people and not even for overnight. Or, well, not for live on board anyway. So, yeah. Don't walk into a refugee or survivor camp. All right? If you have to move into a shed on your buddy's farm, do that first. Guess what my plan is? Okay. It is now 10:10. I started 15 minutes late, I think it was. So I'm going to go another 5 minutes. Yeah. Keep fighting. Don't ever stop fighting. You're dead and you're still fighting. Figure it out. Do not allow yourself to be corralled into what has been proven to be a bad plan. Time and time again has been proven to be a bad plan. It has never worked out. It will never work out because of the way the federal government works. They have to do it one system for everything, and it never works that way. The only time one system for everything has ever worked out was the British SMLE, and that was the stock. All right. Get your get-home bag ready. Have basically a spare get-home bag ready at home. And carry every time you can. Squatch says hospitals are the new sorting facility. No, it's actually worse than that. It is much, much worse than that. You would much rather go to a hospital than a FEMA facility. And if you're just starting out, take an overnight trip, all right, and in your car, and assume that you have to live in your car. and plan accordingly. Everything that you realize you think you might need to live in your car for about a week. I lived in my station wagon for about a year and a half. It was horrible. It was terrible. It drove me to the brink of suicide. Um, Even now, riding around in that car, I have some trouble because of the claustrophobia and feeling like I'm buried alive. But I could do it again. And I would know exactly what I need. That, my other sleeping bag, which is heavier and intended for winter, and a week's worth of food. I wouldn't even need to carry water because I'd have water, but I have 5 1-gallon, not Hawaiian Punch, same company though, Gatorade bottles in it. All I'd have to do is refill them. Luke's back. What are your thoughts on the ammo ban? It's a ban in name only. He's doing it to placate the base, but it's only for 1 year. We have basically a 2-year-ish, 18-month, 2-year inventory between what's already here and what's been approved and has to be allowed to be delivered. What's going to dry that pool up so fast is panic buying. And I think for about 3 to 6 months, you're not going to see any Russian ammo on the shelves. Okay. I also think that this is going to create a very interesting new scenario in which American companies pick up that slack. So all of a sudden, there's going to be competition between Russian and American companies for the American market. And it's going to come down to, can American companies produce basically steel case ammo cheaply enough to stay in the market? I don't know. Big part of the reason the Russian companies can is because most of that is military surplus. Or at least that's how they got a huge head start. And they can get out that far ahead. It's a solid, Squatch said it's a solid way to limit my range time. He's right. And by the way, before he even says it, I know DM's going to disagree with me about the ammo ban. I know this because you did a video on it. Was it an overnight? I think it was one of your overnights. But yeah, I think until about month number 9 of this 1-year ban, well, yeah, somewhere around month number 6, you're going to start seeing effect. Somewhere around month number 9, you're going to see that shelves are empty. And then about 3 months later, it's off and running again. I also think that some of them are going to circumvent it by coming through third-party countries. Now, I know, and DM, I think it was, actually corrected me on, was it DM or Squatch that corrected me on this last week, or manufactured in. So you can't buy from a Mexican company that bought Russian ammo. That might be in effect. That will maybe bring that from 9 months to 8. DM says, I heard it doesn't affect current import licenses, just new ones. Not sure if that's true. That is correct. If you have a piece of paper signed by the State Department that said, yes, you can import 1 million rounds of Tula 76239, even though it hasn't shipped yet, and the ammo is still sitting in bins waiting to be boxed up, right? You can import those 1 million rounds of 7.62. But if you put in a new application for a new supply, they'll turn around and say no. Buckle says, Taliban will be happy to sell us our ammo at 4 times the amount. No, actually, they will not. They will hold on to that for dear life, because that's all they're going to get for a very long time. Luke is saying, so I'll wait a bit to sell my 7.62. Profiteer. Squatch says, even still, I'm keeping my manufactured MDS put up. I'm using my reloads on the range. Yeah, that's going to stretch out that 6 months to the 9 for those that are willing and able to go there. And that is the way it is. By the way, you can reload some firearms with black powder. It's been done before. All right. Don't look at me. I didn't do it. I didn't even think it was possible until Deuces and Guns did it on an AR-15 with 300 blackout, using what he described as the cheapest black powder he could find. And the problem he had was it would either fail to extract properly or it would fail to eject. This was a big problem he had. Well, on an AR-15, it's a little bit more difficult. On an basically anything Russian, or a early AR-10, it's real simple. Manually cycle the bolt. Now, deactivate the reloading system. On an AK, you take the gas tube off, put a plug in there, put the A tube in so that things don't get damaged, and you're off and running again. On an AR, it's a little bit more complicated, or at least on my AR it is. I would have to take the gas tube off and just take it off completely and put a plug in that is small enough to fit and cross-pinned. It'd be a little bit more difficult for me. And you cycle it manually. It's not a perfect solution, but believe me, it's a whole lot better than having nothing. Flag on the play. Because Russians are the way they are, I would imagine that SKS, AK-47 at least, and a few of the other more rough and tumble designs would respond to that cheap black powder better. DM says, or better still, toss that commie gun in the trash. DM, you go tell Fit and Fire. All right? And those who are about to die, I salute you. You're on your own. On a related note, I have an SKS, and I really like my SKS. I'm keeping it. I just do wish it had detachable magazines. I know some of them that D and M models were designed from the factory to have detachable magazines. This is relatively recent information to me. I know there's a conversion kit. I wish I were in a position to risk destroying my gun to test this. I'm not. So it is what it is. And I'm getting buried with that gun, by the way. And for those of you keeping your Freedom Seater, yeah, keep it. For God's sakes, don't give it up just because I have an SKS, which is actually a good gun. All right, guys, I have gone a couple minutes over, and I do have duties to attend to. Niner 17 is ready. Keep your get home bag handy. Carry basically 24/7. I don't mean necessarily sleep with brass knuckles on like I do, but carry 24/7. Guys, I will see you next week, and I will have that new video out as soon as I can. Keep calm and manage to carry on.